Star Wars, a classic film that launched a trilogy of films that could be said to be responsible for the current sci-fi craze. As a kid, I remember seeing this film for the first time at the Raintree Cinema. Since then, it has expanded to include two other films, The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. In the late 90s to early 2000s, it also spawned a prequel trilogy and a Clone Wars series, and recently, with its sale to Disney, a sequel trilogy and subsequent films. But those will be discussed at another time. For now, we are discussing the Atari Arcade Classic Star Wars trilogy. Starting off with Star Wars, followed up with The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Three arcade games that can be seen as very challenging, even to a player of this day. So if you have a bad feeling about this video series, check them at the door. May the 4th be with you, everybody. Yep, it's that time again. And this year I am going to be reviewing 3 classic Star Wars arcade games done under the Atari banner. These are the coin ops, not exactly the home. They're not the home versions, actually. These are definitely arcade classics. So sit back, relax, and watch as I take on the first one, Star Wars the Arcade. Starting up.
Red 5 standing by.
Okay, we're going to start off with a little easy one. Because sometimes getting a feel of the controllers, but also getting a feel of the game. Starting out, you're blasting away TIE fighters. Pretty much fun, pretty simple. The theme in the background, sounding. Also, you gotta blast the fireballs as they come in, because they can still attack you. And now running to the Death Star. Red 5, I'm going in. And immediately you go down to the trench right away. Well, when you get into later levels, things get a little harder because you're blowing away bunkers and you're also blowing away towers when you get into the harder areas. And you're also avoiding, if not blasting, the fireballs as they come down your way. And here comes the transport, and made it! Blew up the Death Star. That's what a lot of us wanted to do when we saw this film. Death Star destroyed. And shields at full strength. And back at it again. More TIE fighters. As you get into later levels, Darth Vader does put in an appearance. But another thing, if you're working with the original arcade controllers, this is a little easier to do. But when you're working with a different one, it's a bit of a challenge because you're trying to see how they work with one another. And again, going back after the Death Star. And now you got another layer that you got to take out. You got to blast the bunkers that are firing at you. Shoot the bunkers, shoot the fireballs. Seems simple enough, but the pace seems to pick up, and you still gotta also be careful not to crash into the bunkers. As I took a hit there, hit there, hit there, hit there, and yep, there I crashed into one. And okay, cleared the bunkers, but now you're back in the trenches. But now you got catwalks. Single catwalks, but and a double catwalk too. So you also gotta be careful there too. Down to one. And, yep, shield's gone. And the game is ended for me. You get a lot more practice in. It gets harder. But you love the movie effects and the sound that goes with it. Obi-Wan is gone, but his presence is felt within the Force. The Empire's Death Star, under the command of Darth Vader, nears the rebel planet. You must join the rebellion to stop the Empire. The Force will be with you. Always. Arcade game going to a home console is not always an easy transition. And sometimes even with the controller, even in the arcade, it can be a little on the hard side. Because you might be looking to get your ship to go down, only to find it's going up. And you might find your ship going up is actually going down. Left, right, still pretty much the same. But you get enough practice at this, you can blow up the Death Star multiple times. And this game is still regarded as one of the top 10, well, not top 10, but among the top arcade classics. And it's still fun to play, to go back to. And moving on from the Arcade Star Wars, here's an arcade game that I didn't really think came about. The Empire Strikes Back. With this game, I don't really have that much of a good track record with it. It handles a little sluggishly for me. Of course, part of it is I don't really know how a lot of this game operated. So, reading the instructions, I was not going to take anything for granted on this. And of course, a little credit to the Empire Strikes Back design team. Special thanks to the people below. For the longest time, Atari didn't seem to recognize a lot of creators. Yep, I went for the instructions book. And it seems to reflect the story as well. Probot weaponry. And about the time. I was not taking anything for granted, as I said before. It's like blast when the Probot's head is white. You want to know what you're doing because it would help in this game.
There's a meteorite hit the ground near you.
Gameplay is similar to that of The Empire Strikes Back, but it also is a little faster paced. I mean, you've got your puffballs coming at you that you gotta blast, and of course you got your shields again. But you're also kind of trying to prevent the Probots from getting you. Also the ATST walkers. If it was AT-ATs, it'd be the AT-ATs. And you gotta blast those as well. Like I said, I went for the instructions because I was not going to take anything for granted. And I'm also relying on dumb luck to try to figure out how to operate the tow cables. I'm not really sure where those controllers would be on this one. If it were the arcade Rebel Hideout. Now TIE Fighter weaponry. Looks like this goes back to the classic, where you're trying to blast TIE Fighters to get out of the Hoth system. But this time you're flying the Falcon and not the X-Wing fighter. This is very fast-paced because you don't exactly know where you're going to be with this game. It has quite a few good nods to the original Star Wars game, but it's also its own thing in its own right. For the longest time, I did not know this game existed. Asteroid weaponry, going into the asteroids and saying the asteroids have no weapons, but you still got to avoid them. And survive to earn next Jedi letter. So you're flying through one shield. And there goes the shield. Shield's gone. Void, and yep, you're done. So this is the scoring. Fast-paced game. My reaction said it all right there. I didn't even not know about this game until like years later. And I will admit I often found it very tough to get through, and it's also very fast-paced. It's pretty much the same as the original Star Wars arcade game, especially with the controller's handling. And it can be difficult to figure out which way is up on it. This is definitely a game you have to invest time and have a lot of patience for. But I think once you make the investment, you'll find this a very fun experience. And now here's another one that I didn't really expect to happen. Arcade version of Return of the Jedi. Starting out, we got the hardware designer, technician, and the project leader of this game. Return of the Jedi. This is a different animal, but not by much. You still have your easy, medium, and hard selections.
Deflector shield will be deactivated when we have confirmation of your code transmission. Leave them to me. I will deal with them myself.
We'll start from the beginning. And you're racing as Princess Leia. And even though it starts out with the selection of the classic of the arcade, it is a different animal, as this one uses pixel effects. Well, crash. I'm not used to this setup. This requires a lot of practice, and I really would love to get back to that. Oh, took out Biker Scout, took out me too. As I was saying, this one uses pixel effects, while the first two made use of vector line graphics, as it used. Game over. Well, that stunk. One more try, because there's definitely more to it. And if there isn't, I'll let you know what happens. As I said, the first two used vector lines, which was like using lines to construct, as opposed to this one using pixelated effects. And this one I wanted to go back and give it another go. So here I go again. And you'll probably also hear the guide Princess Leia through the forests of Endor. And I get shot from behind. Oh, actually, that was the opening effect. And a little opener from the movie itself as well. Vader speaking through the Star Destroyer with the Death Star in the background. And Luke gets left behind while Leia goes blasting. I really wanted to get through this level, as next we'd have Lando Calrissian going through with the Falcon. This one was definitely more challenging, and this one wanted me coming back for more. I always felt like I was not done with this game, and really is quite the challenge. Ugh, crash. Game over. And put in your score and enjoy the original Ewok song, not the one from the special edition. Good luck trying to find the originals. I still have my VHS copy of the original films. It's in the basement, and right now that's the only version of the original films that I have and probably exist anywhere. This is definitely one you have to have a whole lot of practice on. This is one you're going to have to spend hours on, especially on the first level. And you're guiding Leia through the bike, through the forest jungle, and taking out the biker scouts, and you got to be a little creative with it. I mean, get behind them, slam them into the trees, go through the Ewok ropes. And you have to know exactly what you're doing. Because if even the easy level can cause you this much headache, think what the hard levels can do. And last but not least, I had a version of this game in my library somewhere. It started out in arcade cabinets around 1979, and it was considered to be a Star Wars ripoff. Was this game? Well, I'll give you a hint. Not this. No, this game was originally called Starfire, and it was created by Xype Entertainment originally. I could not find it in any of my arcade game files, but apparently it did turn up in a homebrew file that another company had decided to create. And I'm going to be giving that game a play right now. In 1978, there was a company called Xype, which created an arcade game called Starfire. You see the lettering, it's a little like Star Wars, especially with what looks like the design of the fighter craft involved, and maybe even a capital ship or two here and there. Somehow I think the Emperor is not one for marketing, if you know what I mean. And this homebrewed version seems to go the same way. This is a different company called Xype, but it recreated a version of Starfire for the Atari 2600 for homebrewed marketers. And it does seem to play and design much like Xype's version. And when Xype came out with theirs, Star Wars was pretty hot on the silver screen. There were comic books, he even had an audio, 8-track audio of the film, which told the story of it, as well as the soundtrack. So Star Wars did not go away, and even back then, there were people looking to capitalize on it. And blasting away fireballs, careful you don't get hit. And you also gotta blast away these TIE fighters while you're at it. Blowing away, blowing it up. Going on to the next one. Space gates, so that's different. And going into wave 2. Well, wave 1, wave 2. Starfire. It seemed pretty easy to get through. Easier than the arcade games. But here we go. Back at it for another round of blasting away TIE fighters. Looks like we are. So, a lot of people, I really rip into people saying how they think Battlestar Galactica was a Star Wars ripoff. And I always disagree with that. If I take a look at Starfire from the arcade version, and this seems to be more the ripoff than Battlestar Galactica ever was. So, but it looks like Xype and Xype always try to make things up slightly different as to avoid copyright. I think Xype was much the same. They just said, well, just use the lettering, and we put our own spin on it. What? What was it? And blasted a bit, but what was that? What? Blast away the TIE fighters. Okay, let me see. What? Okay, a few more. Okay. And what? 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 Going through the gate. What? Don't tell me that was not the Death Star at the end there. So, yeah. I think we know what the real Star Wars ripoff really is. Though back in the day, XD was able to get away with it. And I think this version was actually more of a homebrewed copy than the actual arcade. Dare I say classic? Nah, probably not. Starfire definitely had an infamous reputation to it. The lettering, the designs. It wouldn't surprise me if the legal team at Lucasfilm at the time went after this game and may have actually won. I'd have to take a look. Although, maybe something the gaming historian might want to take a look at. Or maybe Lady Decade. It'd be nice to give her a call. I think she might find this one a little more interesting. You know, as I take a look at this review, I want to give Return of the Jedi another look. I want to see if I can really get through that Endor level, because the next level, well, I'll probably have problems with that too, but I just want to see if I can get through this, get through the Endor Forest.
Security deflector shield will be deactivated when we have confirmation of your code transmission. Leave them to me. I will deal with them myself. Go for help.
Okay, one more time. You're Princess Leia again, speeding through the forests of Endor. You got a little bit of a path before you, but still shot from behind. And there's still the trees in your way. This one you definitely have to be very good at, and well, definitely going to have to really get practice in. A lot of it. In the meantime, enjoy the Ewok music. Oh well. There's always next time. And well, that's it. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars fans. Don't forget to click and subscribe.